Thank you for joining. My name is Dominic from ShipHub. I will hold a 60 minutes webinar about transport from China 2021. So let's start with the presentation. First of all, I know there are many of you who listen for the first time. I would like to introduce our company and what we do just in 2 words, so you can maybe also use our free services. I represent ShipHub, the first company where you actually can quote your transportations. I will talk about the high prices now. I will talk about the current situation when it comes to the prices in China. If you struggle with this, if you look for a new partner, if you look for a new forwarder, this is the ShipHub comes in place, and we can actually help you to find a forwarder, especially when you're active in those markets where ShipHub is active. We are active in Turkey, in China, in the US, in Poland, and in Germany. New markets will come in the future, so stay tuned. But ShipHub is already active in those markets. So if you need a forwarder, actually from Europe, if you look for some price lists, for some quotes, you can use ShipHub. So you're welcome to set up a free account. It's always free for you, for importers, to use ShipHub to actually quote. So this is also why I'm talking about the prices. Why I'm talking about transportation is because ShipHub, we work on a daily matter with those problems, because as you know, importing from China is a good business. It's really profitable, but transport is really expensive now. So we have to fight with those prices and with this situation. On ShipHub, you can easily quote. You can easily get your quotations directly from forwarding companies. So try it out. So this is also the part of the business which helps us to make more free webinars for you. The second company is actually the second company we run is actually Examine China. We are a consulting company where you can also book some services when it comes to sourcing from China. So if you need a factory audit in China, when you need a company verification in China, this is what we do actually for 10 years. So you can also use our services to improve your imports from China. You know, China is closed, trade fairs are closed for foreigners, so it's really hard to travel for China. So Examine China and ShipHub, this is what I'm representing, those 2 companies we're actually running. And let's start with the main presentation. Let's start with the problems and with the basics I would like to introduce to you. So this is the plan for the 45 minutes meeting. I think it depends how many questions you will have. I will stay with you longer and try to answer all the questions you can directly write to me. First of all, I will have a look about the current situations. Why do we see such a difficult problems? What's the reasons for that? I will try to make a small analysis about that and tell you why did it happen that we have such high prices when it comes for the transports, not only to Europe, not only to the US. You probably know, you wrote me, you are from all over the world. Shipping costs to your country are probably also really expensive now. I will make some predictions for the coming months. We've prepared some predictions for you, so some forecasts for the coming months. You will get also them from me, and also I will get you some informations about the current prices, what we see in March, what we see in April, what are the first pricing lists you may get from your forwarder. I will share those experience and the information with you, and at the end, of course, some useful advice from me, because I think we may see high prices through the whole year. Even we may see high prices for the transports even at the beginning of 2022. So how to deal with that? Maybe some insights which may help you to overcome the problem we see with the high prices. So maybe you will get some insights from me. Maybe you can use them. When I can help a bunch of you, that it will be really useful, because I try to help importers to deal with this problem. Let's start with some basics. You probably know, but I know there are also some importers who just want to start their import business from China. The basics you have to know, because I will use the basics when it comes to transportations. I will talk about full container loads. I will talk about shipments in shipments less container loads, so LCL, FCL, those shortcuts you have to know when it comes to transports, when it comes to importing from China. We'll talk a little bit about the transit time. I have a new chapter today, so those of you who watch this webinar maybe the second or the third time, I have a new part for you, so where we will talk about the transit time, about the door-to-door imports, and this is what you have actually to know. When it comes, of course, FCL, LCL, I think you know that, but we have many new importers, many new viewers, so FCL shipments, this is obvious. You just book one container of your products. LCL shipments, it's less than a container. What's less than a container? There might be a few packages, a few cartons of your products. There might be a few pallets of your products. Everything which is less than a container. When you don't book a full container, we talked then about LCL shipments, about LCL cargo. So I think this is a little bit obvious, but at the beginning, some basics for you. So let's have a look what's going on. Let's have a look and let's talk about the reasons for the current situation. So I have a bunch of reasons, because this year is really complex. Like last year was also really complex. It's difficult for everyone, I think, and we have many actual reasons for the situation. This is really unusual. Also, when it's your first time to import goods from China, you may think about, oh my God, this is so expensive to transport those goods. Remember, we hadn't had this situation in 20 years. This is something we never saw. So the situation will come back to normal. The question is actually when and how long will it take. The reasons for that, of course, I don't have to introduce the main reason for the situation. Of course, this is the pandemic, which we fight since 2020. We saw a big decrease of orders in China last year. Actually, last spring, last summer, we saw a big decrease in orders, in shipments from China. And actually, many companies, many shipping lines, they thought, okay, we will have difficult situation in the market for the next months. There might be a market crash, and many shipping lines, many importers, they just stopped ordering goods from China. What happened at the end of the last year? Everything came back to normal with double power, I would say. Third quarter, fourth quarter last year, a dramatic increase of imports from China, and this is the main reason, because everything got stuck. There is so much demand for the Chinese products all over the world, and everybody wants to get the goods out of China. So COVID, of course, is the main reason, and other reasons for that. So let's talk about them. Let's have a look into them, because we might fight COVID within the few months, but the other reasons we see which caused the situation, they might appear in the future. Maybe after 2-3 years, similar situation may come back. And if you are prepared for that, if you know what can happen with the cargo, with the prices, your imports will be easier. Your imports will be better. And as I said, reduced supply, significant smaller supply from shipping line owners, many ships on fleet, many ships of the fleet at anchor, not so much demand. First part, second part, big demand. Stagnation in port. What happened at the end of the year? At the end of the year 2020, we saw that many ports worldwide, they couldn't handle the cargo. They couldn't handle the orders. They couldn't handle the containers. As an example, I could give you ports in the UK, Los Angeles ports, Hamburg ports. The demand was very, very high. And of course, stagnation in ports. What happened? Congestions. This is an example of the LA Bay, which you see, and each green dot is a big container ship. So you see so many ships waiting to unload their goods. If you have so many ships, if you have so many orders from China, there comes some congestions in ports. It takes long to get the containers back to China. It takes long to get the ships back to China. And what we see delays. And if you want your goods faster, you have to pay more. And if you pay more, the others will pay more, and the rates just increased dramatically. This is the reason we actually focused on such high prices. What also happened, as I said, it takes longer to unload the ships worldwide. The turnaround time, we see really at least 50 to 60% of delays in shipping lines, in shipping timings. There are only about 30 to 40% of cargo ships which actually run on time. This is the lowest percentage since 20 years. Normally we see like 70-80% ships on time. Now we just see 30% ships worldwide on time with the cargo. So you will also see some delays within the 2021, even though when the prices come down. I will talk about that within a few minutes. So even though when we see lower prices, they are already lower than in January. I will talk about that in a few minutes. But still remember about delays. You will see 10, 15 at least days of delays when it comes to getting your goods out of China, actually. Leading ships into profitable market. If you listen from other smaller markets, maybe not from Europe or US, you also might see that there are not so many shipping line connections, that the prices are also higher because the shipping lines, they move their ships to the most profitable lines. The most profitable line is, of course, the China West Coast, the US line, which is the most profitable for the shipping lines for the ship owners. So they just move the equipment, the ships on those routes because they make so much money on this route, despite letting them on routes like, for example, to South America, to Africa, to Middle East, or even to Southeast Asia, because all the equipment is on the main routes. Another reason, defrosting economies. What I said, we will see a defrosting economy worldwide. You still know probably in Europe we have a lockdown and the shops are closed. So the businesses are preparing. The businesses are stocking up goods. They are preparing for reopening. So they want their goods to have already in the shops, in the warehouses, just to be ready to start selling them to the consumers. Another reason, I have many reasons. You see, it's not so easy. You can't just blame COVID. You just can blame the Chinese New Year for this situation, because we had a really complex situation when it comes why did it happen. We also had a specific Chinese New Year this year. I have a special calendar for you for this year and for the 2021 at the end, so we will get them free from me to plan your imports and focus on the Chinese holidays. This year we had a really long Chinese New Year, actually almost 3 weeks off. And if you talk to your Chinese partners, you know that most of them, they just actually came back to business this week. So almost 1 week, 1 month off when it comes to production in China. This is also another reason. The prospect, still, the factories are still closed. Many factories, they just come to production. They start to produce actually again in China, and this is another reason for the situation. Holidays 2021. Also remember, and I also mentioned that we have to plan ahead. Chinese holidays are really different compared to those in your country. If you are familiar with the Western holidays or if your local holidays, you have always to take into account the Chinese holidays. They are really different. You might don't know them. You might to forget about them. But this is also a reason for which made the shipping costs higher, which makes the availability of cargo lower in China. Always remember about that. The year, what will we see? Of course, we hope we'll come back to normal, but everybody thinks about that. I will tell you about this also within a few minutes. Another reason, Brexit, of course. I'm still talking to few forwarders in the UK. They still tell me, Brexit already 2 months after Brexit, but we still see a lot of problems when it comes with the UK market, especially the UK European transport. So we also see congestions in the ports in the UK. We see huge delays. We also see that some shipping lines, they skip UK with the product, with the containers, with the container ships. They just go to continental Europe. Chinese factories closed again. As I said, I will talk about the closure of Chinese factories, because we have always to remember that there might be some COVID outbreaks in China again. If there is a lockdown in one province, the factories, they also will be closed. If you are producing your goods in those factories, you will see delays. Those ports will see delays in leaving the containers out of China. So this is also what may happen. I also think that the main reason we are actually see such huge prices, such high prices for the shipping costs are actually the ship owners, the shipping lines. I think they try to use a little bit the situation. When you look on the stock price of the share markets for companies like Maersk or MSC, you just see they also skyrocketed in the past 6 months because as you probably know or don't know, worldwide we just have a few players. We just have like 10 big shipping lines who control the whole market. And of course, when you have you could say a monopole, you can dictate the prices for the containers. You can dictate the prices for the containers, and we, the importers, the shippers, we actually have to pay this, and this is also one of the reasons. Time and cost actual update. So now I will tell you a little bit about the actual prices. What can you expect in March? What can you expect actually in April when it comes to the costs, to the timing, when it comes to getting your containers out of China. Of course, this is my favorite. This is my favorite slide. How it used to be. This is the past. This is the past situation. You probably know. You probably remember 2020 until November, December. We still had low prices, really low prices in 2020, 2019. We will see the situation. But when, it's difficult to say. I think we won't see such prices in 2021 because those were really low prices when it comes for the shipping prices between China and Europe and China US. I will just give you an example on those two markets because those are the biggest markets. And sorry, it's difficult for me to prepare the actual prices for each of your actually country, but I will try also to talk a little bit about that. Also about as you see, China to US, we in the past we had prices around $1,000 or $2,000. It depends, East Coast or West Coast for your container. But what happened last year? As I said, last year, end of November, actually until November of 2020, we had good prices. We had actually a normal market situation. Everything was looking good, and many importers, they thought that okay, March, April 2021 will be as usual. It will be cheap. After Chinese New Year because we were used to a situation like that. But what we saw that November spike, a huge increase December, and actually when you compare 2020 to 29, you see that was normal. It was normal, and you could compare this graph to previous years, to 2018, 17, 15, or 2010. You always saw some increases when it comes to cargo before the Chinese New Year, but never such huge spikes like that. And what we have to pay now, some updates for March 21. I prepared, some routes for you. For example, Shenzhen to Hamburg, some LCL shipments with transit time, with the costs which you have to pay actually now. It's still expensive, but it's getting better, as you see. About $4,000 for maybe 20 CBMs or for a small container. But let's focus on the FCS shipments. March between New York, China and New York, and China and Europe, it's better. As you see, we have here, for example, for the European market, around $8,000. Those are, of course, some estimates. Those are some estimates, and as you know, the shipping business, it really depends on your cargo. It really depends on the date. But I will just want to show you that the market is slowly getting back to normal. But it will take time. It will actually take time. We see some LCS shipments for some rail cargo, Wuhan, Duisburg, Foshan, Warsaw. It's still expensive, but it's getting better. What I taught you in January, it's really better than if you compare those slices to January. FCL shipments for rail. This is something interesting. Look on the costs, and I will talk about that later to compare sea cargo with rail cargo. If you're from Europe, we see to Hamburg to Poland around $8,000 for rail transport. This is maybe the key, maybe the solution to those high prices, because actually we see sea cargo and rail cargo is 1-to-1. Remember, rail is controlled by Chinese government. They subsidize it. They can pay to the containers. I will talk also about the solutions later. You may see the reason for that. So if you still face really high sea rates for the European transport and never use rail cargo, think about rail cargo. It's really 1-to-1 at least now, I would say, or maybe 1.2-to-1 when it compares to the prices. We see almost the same prices for 40-feet container from Yantian to Hamburg than for sea cargo. Air costs are really expensive still, because the air cargo is really expensive still, because we see a lot of vast shipments. We see still just few passenger connections, like the commercial flights to China are still closed. You have to remember all commercial flights takes a huge volume of air cargo with it when it comes to China and from China. China is still closed for the air travels, so still air cargo is really, really expensive. Some comments. Peter just pinned the Facebook group, so you're really welcome to join and to talk about the actual situations later on our Facebook group. We see here some informations. For example, one of our Facebook users just wrote to us, I have a rate of $6,100 FOB for March. I'm wondering whether to take or to wait. I think it's a really good price now, actually, $6,000 for a 40-feet container from China to Europe, because we saw $10,000 or even $11,000 5-6 weeks ago. So still, of course, when you compare those prices with 2019 or with 2020, it's still expensive. But we have to solve actually the problems now, and it's better to compare now to the previous weeks than to previous years, actually. So another updates from our users, from our importers and Facebook members. I have 7,800 for 40 containers second half of March. I have information with a delay up to 2 weeks. So what I've said, it might be cheaper, but still remember there will be delays. For the rail cargo, for the sea cargo, there will be still huge delays, even when the prices drop. Even if the prices are lower, you have to remember that. What's my predictions? Because those prices, $6,000-$7,000. This is March. This is the actual situation. I will hold, of course, a new webinar with some updates, maybe in April, maybe in May, and look on the prices and the actual prices. But our predictions, we still think there will be hard to. There's still no equipment in China, no container ships, no free containers. So still, I think the problems will just remain. So fight for space on ships. Still some delays because of the Chinese New Year. Many importers, probably some of you, they also stopped their shipments in January, in February. They just waited. Now for March, for April, because March and April was always cheaper. And we had that experience. But as I said, I see some lights. I see some good signs that we might come back to lower prices and maybe to a normal situations. Why? Because also we will get this year a lot of new equipment. Many new big container ships will come into operations. Actually, the last quarter and the first quarter of this year, we see at least 20 big container ships coming into service from the major shipping lines. It's not a popular news on your news channels to talk about container ships, but some ultra large container ships will start to operate this year. This is a new size of container ships which were introduced just last year. The first came into service last year, and those are containers who can take up to 26,000 TEU on board. So this will also reduce a little bit the rates through the whole year, I think, when more and more cargo and more containers will come into operation. Also, we have to remember that many shipping lines, they order like thousands of new containers in Chinese factories. The factories, they will start to produce them in March, so we also will see that more equipment will come into a market. What also I will talk to some predictions for my year. I think that we will see some government actions. You probably heard the news that Taiwan ordered 46 container ships for their shipping lines, for the forwarding, for the shipping lines, for the shipping owners, just to reduce the cargo costs. And also remember that actually China is also not happy with those prices. And yeah, China has its own fleet. Remember, Costco shipping and China shipping, they merged last year, and they are actually one of the biggest shipping lines in the world. Of course, they are privately held, but you know how privately held looks like in China. They are really close to the government, and the Chinese government, they are also not happy with those prices. And we already saw really low prices on the rail cargo. When you get the rail cargo cheaper than sea cargo, and helps us as an importer to get lower prices on that, it's maybe a good sign, because the private held shipping lines, they really put the prices in January to like levels we hopefully we will never see again. So this is some predictions, and the pricing predictions from our side, which my team prepared for 2 days. We already saw, like as I said, 10,000-11,000. This was January, February. We are actually at around $7,000 now. We will see some decrease until April, May, June. I think we'll come back to around $4,000 or $5,000 when it comes to a 40-feet container. Then we still may see some increase. Again, some increase. I will talk about the supply chain within a few minutes. Also teach you how to plan your imports, how to plan the supply chain from China. So probably, July, August, a little bit more expensive, I think. The cheapest months, September, October, I think. Again, September, October, but then what will happen, it's really difficult to say. But I think it will be better. I think it will be much better than December and the previous like three months. They were actually crazy and really high prices. Because as I said, we had even $30,000-$40,000 for the East Coast, for example, market in the US, Shanghai, New York. I saw prices like that in January before Chinese New Year. Already we see some decrease, 20-30%. Within 5-6 weeks. That's a lot. It's still expensive, but it's getting better. When we face $4,000-$5,000, I think for the most importers it will be a little bit back to normal, I would say. Still, we won't see $1,000 or $2,000 this year. Maybe next year. I hope that also for ourselves, for our clients, but I don't think this year. What I said, compare this. If you are from Europe, really try to use the rail transport. Currently, the sea and railway rates are not actually one-to-one, but they come really close to that. You see a 40. This is actually a pricing for 40-feet container, which is more expensive between China and Europe for the sea cargo compared to the rail cargo. As I said, the rail cargo is controlled by the Chinese government. They really subsidize it, and they try to keep the prices as low as they can to fight with the high prices. Another prediction, raising rates depending on the space, especially what I said to you. Air cargo will be expensive. If you are importing by air, if you are focusing on this kind of transport, the whole year will be expensive because China may reopen for foreigners in summer, maybe in autumn. It will still take a couple of months when we see a decrease of the air cargo. Also, we have to remember about the distribution of medical equipment. We still import a lot of medical equipment from China, especially for all the COVID-related products. Mostly, this is air cargo, and also like the global Western distribution. The jets, the planes are used for that, and it keeps the prices also really, really high. We also have to remember that we are not alone on the market. There are some big players. There are some big players like companies who are switching. For example, we see that companies switch to air cargo, like the automotive industry, who actually used always sea cargo for the transportation. And also an interesting fact, for example, Apple, who always used who always used air cargo for imports of their products to the US market, started to use the sea cargo last year. So when such big players come on the sea market, on the sea rates market, the rates, they will also automatically go up. So like the habits are changing, big players are changing, and this is a direct impact on my imports. Suspension of activities, what I said, March, April, a lot of imports will be reactivated. Like I also talked to many of our clients. They just talked to the suppliers in China. They asked them, to keep the goods through the Chinese New Year, to keep it in the warehouse, to even pay for that, but just to wait for lower rates. Increase in demurrage fees. So remember also that, the big problem is, as I said, the turnaround. For the empty containers, for the ships. Also, as you see, a container is not working for 40-50 days through the whole year. So big companies, they also will increase some demurrage fees for you to make faster custom clearance, to get faster the container back to the seaport. Also, I see that many detention fees are getting up. So as you probably had for example, 6 or 8 hours to unload the container at your warehouse at the destination. Now I see some offers for like 3-4 hours. So make everything faster, because if you if you don't do it fast enough, you have to pay for it. New containers in rail transport. This is my prediction for the whole year. I believe that we will see also some 20-feet containers on the rail transport. As you know, you can just use the 40-feet containers between China and Europe. So this will also help the situation, because when we get like 20-feet containers on the rail transport, we can use them on the rail transport. We can switch to 40s on the sea cargo, and the rates hopefully will also be be lower. Still, we don't know what will come with COVID. Will we have like new waves? It's really difficult to predict. So I was I think 2-3 months I saw I was more sure about that, but now I think we still might just look through the whole year and see what's going on. Uncertainty about the price drop. Wait out the situation till May and June. If it's still too expensive for you, you have just to wait, because more and more importers, they will start to ship, because they can deal with $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. If you can deal with that, you have actually to wait. If you can wait, of course, with your products. Uncertain situation about Brexit. Still, it might take a few weeks about the whole UK situation, which will come back to normal. Drop prices, we see some drop prices, but they aren't such huge. We might thought that we'll be like at 3,000-4,000. We are at like 6,000-7,000 now when it comes to a 40-feet container, and the prices week by week, they are getting lower. So if you can wait, you can wait. Government actions, I talk about that, and opening of economy. This can actually save us as importers, because when the economy will reopen, the demand for Chinese goods, it will also fall. Like customers, consumers will switch the spendings from the online shops, from the imports goods to services, to travel. We won't spend so much on buying Chinese products, so there will be also more space on ships cargo. Many ships cargo come into operation. Somebody has to fill the containers. Someone has to bring the goods. They just can't wait on Anchor. So the prices may hopefully be lower. I would also, add, this is a new part of the presentation. I would like to talk to you and talk a few words about planning your supply chain, about planning your imports from China, because if you plan right, you can actually avoid those problems. I will talk now a few words about planning, and then I will just switch to my tips, to my advice, which you can use not only this year, maybe you can use it in the future, because it's always good to have some ways to solve your problems. But remember about planning. Remember about planning, especially when it comes to planning your transport. Pay attention to your product, and pay attention when to order it and when to ship it. Because many problems when I talk to our Examine China clients is that it's late. I have to get my products now. I have to get my products before Chinese New Year. Okay, if you want to get your products before Chinese New Year, you have to pay double. You have to pay triple, because the situation is every year the same. So keep in mind that good planning is the key to lower the costs when it comes to transport. Take into account the types of transport and transit time. When is it good time to import and to ship your goods? A few examples for the US market and for the European market, because you have to take into account first the whole ordering process when it comes to China. Then you have to take into account the technical delays, the technical process, which I will show you, how the transport looks like, how you have to actually take into attention transit time, that it's not door-to-door transport. And some examples for you, for example, when you order Christmas products, because actually when we plan our imports, we should plan Christmas 21 already now. Chinese factories are start to produce the Christmas products, the toys, the gifts already, because look, you have to start shipment those products maybe in July, maybe in August, because you want them earlier at your warehouse. You have to do the custom clearance. You have to deliver them to your clients. You have to sell them. So if you want to sell the products in October, November, I even would say November is quite late for Christmas products. This is just an example to show you the problems. Order in spring 21 for Christmas 21. take into account the production time. Chinese factories, when they are full with orders, it may take like 30, 40, 50 days to produce your goods. Then you have to ship them. If you order your transport in July, you have to take into account 40 days, 50 days for the shipments. It might be too late in July for the Christmas products. Another example, spring products. You have to plan them actually also like at the end of the year, because the same 60 days from order to sale, order in autumn, winter. So for the next spring season, now it's too late to import spring products. We already have spring here in Europe. Spring is here. Like when you shop online, when you start to shop offline, you will see all the spring products, the summer products in the stores. They are already here. So if you want to avoid next year high prices in January, maybe start to ship them in November. Maybe spend less on shipment. Of course, spend some money on storage, on warehouses, but you will have those products at your company, at your factory, at your warehouse. Actually, Halloween articles, the same here. You have to take into account seasonal products when it comes to import, to order earlier in China, and then remember the shipment, the delays. This is really, really important. Articles for summer, the same. In some parts of the world, we may see summer in March. Of course, remember when you're from Australia, when you're from South America, summer is in winter. Like I'm in Germany, like I'm in Europe. So plan also for summer earlier. Maybe October, November, you can benefit from the lower prices. Have the goods here, start them selling in February and March to your customers, and also order them just a little bit earlier. What can influence your supply chain? As I said, delays. Always take into account delays. When planning transport, you should always have 10, 15 days in reserve, because there might be delays, like some technical delays. There might be some weather delays. And of course, remember your partners. It's always good to know that you work with a factory. At Exam in China, we verify factories in China, and we can tell you if it's a really factory or if it's just a trading agent or a trading company, because you may think you work with a factory, but in fact, you order your products at the middleman, at a trading company. So if you're not sure, if you don't know that, you may think you work with a factory. The factory has some delays, and the Chinese agent, he will just email you and ask you, sorry guys, the factory has some delays. Your goods will be like shipped 3 weeks later. Congestions, audits, you have to think about that. And please always remember the transit time. You see, the transit time you get, the transit time you are used to, you don't take them into account in 2021. Transit time is not the transport door to door. I have some interesting slides for you, just to show you an example when it comes to the supply chain, how long it from the technical side. You don't have to know the technical side from the logistics. You have your forwarder. The forwarder guys will handle all the logistics for you. But you also have to understand that it may take a few days in China to ship actually the goods from the factory to the port, as you see. Then we have a technical term, which is a cut-off. It's like you can't, when the ship leaves on Friday, you can't come with the container on Thursday or on Sunday morning to load them on the ships. You have to be on, like, there is a specific term like the cut-off in shipments. You might don't know that, you might don't remember that. Maybe the Chinese partner, he won't tell you about that. But as you see, the transit time, it may be like around 30 days to the West Coast, or 32 days, 35 days to Europe, Central Europe. But look, we have already 7 days before the cutoff. We have 3 days for the mainland, inland China shipment. Then, of course, custom clearance, customs inspections about your products. When you import LCL products, you have to wait for unloading the goods, to unloading the container. When there is an inspection for the LCL shipment and there is a custom clearance inspection for the container, you wait until the process is over, until it doesn't matter if your goods are not inspected. Other goods are inspected which were in your container, you have to wait. And then the transport to you, to the importer, the inland transport in Europe, the inland transport in US, it also may take a few days. Then we have holidays, we have weekends, and for the sea transport, 40, 50 days. It's a door-to-door transport. To remember that, and I have slides also for the rails transport. It's around a month, even though the shipping time, the transit time is really nice between China and Germany, but we have to always remember about the door-to-door transport. This is really important. And also for the air cargo. Yeah, the plane, it takes maybe 2 days to come with the goods. But also you have to remember for all the transport door-to-door, it may take just time. Even for the cutoff at the airport in China, 2 days, 3 days before the plane takes off to your destination. Please remember that. It will hopefully save you a lot of money and problems. So my advice is how to work with those problems, and then I will come to the Q&As. So if you have questions, ask them. I will later turn on the chat window, and Peter will also send me some interesting questions. So my advice, how to handle the situation, and hopefully this will help you to overcome these problems. Compare the prices. Of course, this is the first advice. The first advice, compare the sea cargo and the rail cargo in Europe, but compare different ways of transportation. When it comes, compare, of course, also some seaports. This is an interesting slide. In the past few weeks and months, I saw, for example, much lower sea cargo prices to Hamburg than, for example, to the Netherlands or to Belgium. As you know, Hamburg can't handle the big ships. They can just handle ships up to, I think, 18 or 20,000 TEU. They can't handle the biggest ships, the direct lines. So maybe if you can compare like offers to different seaports, of course, 2 years ago, last year ago, the differences were really low, like $50 or $100 on a container. Now, when you see differences in pricing, $500, $800, it's worth considering a new route when it comes to the destination. But also remember, the destinations, they might be when it comes to shipping, it's not always about the money. Sometimes you missed the cutoff in China. You can't get your container on the direct line, for example, to Rotterdam. Maybe use the next ship who's sailing in 3 days to Hamburg. Get your goods. You have to navigate. You have to be more flexible when it comes in solving those problems. Also in China, compare the rates in China. When you have your supplies from central China, talk to them, talk to your forwarder. There might be some lower prices, for example, from Wenzhou than from Shanghai. There are more routes from Wenzhou to Europe than, for example, from Wenzhou to the US. So if you are from Europe, don't always stick to Shanghai. Maybe talk to your supplier in China and ask them to deliver the goods to Wenzhou. Maybe you can benefit from cheaper routes between Wenzhou and, for example, Hamburg. It's just an idea, guys. Those are ideas I would like to share with you and show you how we can handle the situations. You can use them, you cannot use them. Maybe you have some ideas. Let me know in the chat window. Contact with several forwarders. This is what I would like to invite you to use ShipHub, where you can actually get in touch with several forwarders from Germany, Poland, Turkey, US, just to compare also the offers, the pricing list. We have an open market. Every partner can quote you what they want. If you stick to your local partners, okay, but remember, maybe check the market, check the other prices at the competition, maybe then come back to your forwarder, or even switch the forwarder if you can make some savings with a new company. So contact several forwarders. How to choose, of course, is up to you who you choose, but there are really hundreds of forwarders in every country you're listening from. There is choice. You can choose, and you can also like use this kind of forwarder you actually would like. A freight forwarder, it's a key to success. Also remember, a good freight forwarder could really save you money in the past months. They could actually propose some solutions for you. They can help you. So this is actually key to success. Working with a good local freight forwarder. This is I'm always telling actually our clients. If you can't book a whole container, maybe consider switching to LCL shipments. I know many importers, they don't want to switch to LCL shipments, but don't be afraid of that. LCL shipments, they might be cheaper when it compares to some small cargo. Maybe you can just cancel some orders in China and switch directly from FCL shipments to LCL shipments. A 20 FCL container costs over $6,000. The same 20 CBMs as a general cargo can cost 4,000 container. This is actually not actual pricing. This is the pricing from from February still, but see, you don't have to stuck to order a whole container because you are used to that. Okay, I have 20, I have 25 CBMs. I just order a 20-feet container. I don't care. I can transport some air with me. I don't have to take a full container because in the past it didn't matter if you like, it was really cheap to get a 20-feet container. Now it's expensive, so consider switching FCL to LCL. Stuffing at least 40 CBMs into 20-feet containers. Some importers, they try different ways to get the cargoes into the container, or even leave some ordered products in China and order the next time fewer products and combine those shipments and maybe ship those goods in a few weeks or in a few months. Also, split the goods. If you have a 40-feet container, maybe ship as 20-feet container now, wait a couple of weeks, and ship a 20-feet container much cheaper within the next weeks. Also, some solutions. Store the goods. Okay, this is obvious, but if you have good guanxi, if you have good relations with your supplier, and if you are actually working with a factory directly, I can tell you, factories, they will store your goods in China without any problem. So they have big warehouses, they can do it for you. Trading agents, trading companies, they won't, because they don't have like warehouses, they don't have storage place for you, and if they do, they will charge you a lot. And always remember, work directly with factories. This is the best solution. Ask other importers. Why not? If you are active on our Facebook group, maybe you can find some other LCL shippers and just order the goods together. What else? Verify your supplier. If you do a good verification of your supplier in China, and if you have a good supplier in China, you may, and I will just come to the next solution. You may switch the Incoterms. Maybe ask your supplier in China to arrange the shipments, but be careful with CIF shipments. It's really dangerous, especially for LCL shipments. But if you're in a good relation, if you do a CIF FCL shipment, if you get the notified party, your local forwarder here in Europe and US, it's a solution. You might save a couple of bucks on that. Also, remember, get to know the Chinese holidays 2021. I will just give you the calendar here. Look, this February we had a long holidays, and we will face a situation like that in September, because we have the Golden Week, which will be really, really long. Look at the dates. 1st to 10 October will be off in China. And before that, we had the Mid-Autumn Festival, the Mooncake Festival. So actually, when you really look on those dates, there might be also some really stops in productions in China. So I will call it like the small Chinese New Year maybe this year, because we may see similar situation in autumn 2021. So be ready for that. So maybe you can jump into the window after October, November. Maybe it will be a little bit cheaper. Then of course December will be much more expensive than the previous months when it comes for this year. Get know the Chinese holidays also for the next year. Start planning. If you're ordering a lot of goods from China, start planning 2021. You will also get this calendar from me. Actually, you see, next year we won't have such a long China holiday. China New Year, sorry guys. We will have actually from the 1st to the 15th of February off, 2 weeks, not 3-4 weeks. So it will be much better, and we will also see September, October 2022 much better than this year. This year will be really difficult for all importers, and also I remember the Chinese holidays. Change the shipping mode. As I said, if you can, maybe try to switch the LCL to FCLs. You have to fight for the prices. You have to fight for your goods, for the containers, and also plan ahead. What I said, always planning ahead, that this will be the key to succeed when it comes for the transportation in 2021 for you guys, because there are so many obstacles, so many problems which will appear, and you have to remember about them, especially when it comes for the seasonal products, for the seasonal imports. The last advice from me, and I will just come to the Q&As, maybe think about switching Incoterms. A few words about the Incoterms. Guys, maybe I will hold a webinar about Incoterms. Let me know on the chat window if you would like to have a webinar about Incoterms from me. Maybe we can meet for 1 hour and I will just talk about the Incoterms. Let me know. Change Incoterms 2020. maybe switch from FOB Shenzhen to XWorks Shenzhen. If you have a good forwarder partner, this might be also a solution. Maybe organize the transport by yourself directly from the factories. Maybe switch FOB to CIF if you know well the factory, if they can offer you a good rates for the shipments. But be flexible on that case. Of course, we always recommend to use FOB, XWorks, FCA, or DAP when it comes to imports from China. Don't use DDP, it doesn't work. Don't use CIF, especially for LCL shipments, because there might be really big problems at your local charges at the local destination. But this is just a sum up for those of you guys who are not familiar with the Incoterms. As you see for the sea shipments, for the maritime transport, if your forwarder has experience in picking up products in non-standard goods in China, you can do XWorks. You can do XWorks with them. He will organize the transport from the factory, from EU, from Shantou, from the local wholesale markets directly to you. Maybe you can see, also some savings over there, of course. When it comes to rail shipments, okay, you can also use XWorks. XWorks is quite popular when it comes to the rail transport between China and Europe. Air transport, the same. DAP only with a certain verified supplier. If you know the supplier, if you can verify them, if he suggests or offers you to arrange the shipment for you, they might have a cheaper DHL, FedEx, TNT shipment than actually you have. So this might be also a solution for you. Also, what I said, look on the ports in China. Shanghai is quite known for 40-feet containers. There are a lot of 40-feet containers always in Shanghai for years. So maybe switch the ports over there. And the last advice from my side is that actually remember that each offer, each pricing has a time limit. It's not timeless for the pricing. It's hard to predict, but I think definitely, because when I talk to importers, week by week is getting a little bit cheaper. I think April will be also a little bit cheaper when it comes to compared to March. What will happen later is really hard to say. So I'll make an update, a new webinar, maybe in the coming months, and get you some updates about the pricings. Because as you see, Ningbo to Antwerp, it's around 8,000 containers now in March. How much it will be in May and April, it's really actually hard to say. So thank you guys for being here with me for 1 hour. I'm really happy that so many of you joined me today. Hopefully you can join me on my next webinar about importing from China. So I will also make like 60 minutes like now and talk a little bit about the practical side of imports. About the practical sides of imports also gives you some insights when it comes from importing from China. So if you like this form of communications, this forms of meetings, so be with us and register for the next webinar. And I would be happy to answer all your questions.